So I recently did a video talking about Spider-Man Miles Morales, and in that video I talked about how the developers, from my point of view, put a racist scene in the game, and I really did not appreciate that. But you put that aside, Spider-Man Miles Morales was a decent game at its core. But then Spider-Man 2 comes out. It came out just a month and a half ago, and I have delved into that game immensely. Like literally when the game first came out, that day I started playing it and I beat the game within 5 days. And if I had no school, no job, and basically no life, I probably would have done it in one. So, needless to say, I enjoyed that game very much. Everything about the game was just incredible. The story, the graphics, the combat, and even the web swinging, that's a very crucial part of any Spider-Man game in my opinion, and it was just beautiful. It flowed perfectly, and I really had no complaints about the game per se, um, except for a few things, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So, we live in a world nowadays where a lot of big companies, especially video game companies, in this case, I'm referring to Insomniac, because Insomniac's no exception. We live in a world where a lot of these companies they seem to feel the need to shove some propaganda down your throat, and this is something I hate so much, especially since it's starting to really infect the gaming industry, and they're really forcing all of this down our throats when we buy their product. And I really don't appreciate that. And in Spider-Man 2, it's kind of hidden, but then again, it's out in the open. All these all this woke propaganda that they're trying to shove down our throats. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. So one of the first things I want to talk about, and it's no secret to everybody, the homosexual stuff in the game. So obviously, you're swinging through New York and you come across, pride flags. Now, they're not everywhere, and it's not really noticeable unless you're kind of looking for it. Of course, sometimes you're just swinging around the city, and me being me, I'm going to notice small little things like that. And I honestly wasn't surprised when I saw the pride flags. I mean, in the first Spider-Man game, I saw a pride flag. It wasn't really as extreme as this, though. There's literally like a whole row of pride flags in one part of the city where you can just jump from pole to pole. And I personally find that quite disturbing because, it's not so much that this company, loves homosexuals and wants to support them, but if you look at it from their point of view, it's really all about money. And that's one of the even bigger problems about this is they claim to support homosexuality, everyone's equal, but at their core, Insomniac Games is just doing this for profit. If you don't believe me, let's look at another example. So, of course, with all video games, there are like different versions of it because, different companies, different countries, they don't like some of the stuff we put in some of our video games. And in this case, I'm talking about the Arab countries. So now, if you folks don't know, Muslims, they hate homosexuality. In fact, they see a homosexual, they find out you're a homosexual, they're going to kill you. They are completely disgusted by that, and they do not tolerate that one bit. So Spider-Man 2 comes out, and they want to release it in the Middle East. But the problem is, because of the homosexual stuff in the game, they're unable to do that. So what do? So they create a different version of the game that removes all the homosexual stuff in it. Therefore, they're able to sell Spider-Man 2 even in the Middle East. But of course, like I said, they had to remove all the homosexual stuff. So really, at its core, this is not about supporting homosexuality, and they're not really, in favor of it to a certain degree. They're doing this solely for the name of profit. And that right there screams a lot of, disturbance, in my opinion. When a company like that is willing to shove propaganda like that down our throats when we don't want to see it, and then when it comes to another country, they remove that content just because they want to make a profit. And it's just like, what on earth are you guys doing? Are you for homosexuality, or are you just here to make a profit? And I'm pretty sure it's the latter one, folks. It's like I said, at its core, all these companies, they're here for one reason, and that reason is to make a profit. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But this is not the right way to make a profit. And you folks know exactly what I'm talking about. So the homosexuality stuff in the game, it's just pride flags, and of course there's a scene where, Miles, he's trying to save Black Cat, and Black Cat reveals that her girlfriend is in trouble. And before you all say like, man, gosh, they made Black Cat, bisexual. She's a lesbian now. And I did some research on that. And it turns out in the comic books, Black Cat was, a lesbian. So that should come as no surprise to us. So I wasn't really butthurt about that. I mean, I kind of knew that already. But besides that, the pride flags and all the homosexual artwork around the city, I really dislike it, and I really don't want to see that in my game. Focus on the story, the combat, the gameplay, all that stuff. And of course, that's what you do in Spider-Man 2. But the fact that pride stuff is there, I really don't like that. Stop shoving it down our throats. It's really disturbing. And one other thing I want to talk about, and I actually found this very recently, not when I first started playing the game. So I found this on the side of one of the buildings in New York. I found a BLM piece of artwork that's been spray painted on the wall. Now you might be thinking, BLM, Black Lives Matter, they're a peaceful organization. They're just trying to protect Black lives. Really? From what I've seen over the past couple years, BLM is not a peaceful organization. In fact, they've quite literally terrorized the American mainland. They are very destructive, and they are not out to protect Black lives. If they really wanted to save Black lives, why don't they go after the #1 killer of Black people in America? That would be abortion. Black people are not being gunned down by cops every day for no reason. That is statistically not true, and it's a bold-faced lie. Nothing you say or do will convince me of that otherwise. So when I see stuff like this in a video game, again, it disturbs me, and I don't want to see it. I don't care about that stuff. This is a political thing that should not be in a video game. Why do you have to shove this down our throats? I just want to play Spider-Man 2 and kick some butt swinging on my web. That's literally all I want to do. And I also want a great story, which, like I said, it was a great game, great story, great everything, except for these small woke things that they sneak into the game. But me being me, I can easily identify this. So the bottom line in this video is Spider-Man 2, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10 for everything. But the reason I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because of these small leftist woke propaganda pieces of art that they sneak into the game. I don't care about homosexuality. And from my point of view, from a biblical point of view, homosexuality is a sin and an abomination to God, and I really don't like seeing that in my video game. Secondly, BLM, I don't want to see that either. They're not a peaceful organization, and the whole BLM thing is ridiculous. Black lives are not the only lives that should matter. All lives matter because we're all created in the image of God. And third, the way Insomniac Games removes all the homosexual stuff for the Middle East version of the game just so they can make a profit, that's really disturbing to me, and they should honestly be ashamed of themselves. But if you put aside all the homosexual stuff, all the BLM stuff, Spider-Man 2, I highly recommend it. Great game, great story. You're going to thoroughly enjoy that game.